UFC Vegas 103. This is the weigh-in recap show, full card predictions, and the betting breakdown. I'm looking forward to talking about each of the matchups on this card after seeing the fighters on the scales. So make sure you guys smash the like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, turn the post notifications on, and make sure you share the video too. Also note, I will be live for the entire card Saturday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern time. Make sure you tune into the Fight Companion. Now, before we get into the breakdown, there has been multiple fight cancellations today. We had Luana Carolina not weigh in. She was probably going to come in way over. And the fight with Montana De La Rosa and her is scrapped from the card. Douglas Silva de Andrade and John Castaneda, they actually both weighed in, but canceled due to Silva de Andrade having a medical issue. The fight was brought up to 140-pound catch weight. Still something with Douglas Silva de Andrade that made him unable to fight. Doctors didn't pass him through. They said, nah, buddy, you can't do this. Wish him the best. I don't know. I'm kind of interested in seeing Douglas Silva de Andrade and John Castaneda rebooked. Maybe if, Silva can, I don't know, get healthy quick. I would like to see them fight later on in the next maybe 3 to 6 weeks because I feel like it's still an interesting matchup. But altogether, 2 fights off. So now we're running it with a 10-fight card. We also had a Lucas Almeida weight miss on the card. I do want to get into the predictions. We're going to start it off with fight number 1, which is Charles Johnson versus Ramazan Temirov. For some reason, this is now our first fight of the night, and it was supposed to be the second fight of the night, but the ladies' fight canceled, and it's literally co-main event quality. The only other ranked fighter on the card, Charles Johnson, aside from our main event fighters. I'm picking Ramazan Temirov, though. Rankings can't keep him safe. I do think Charles Johnson is good. I historically have picked Johnson a good handful. He's a pretty consistent fighter, solid striking skill set, good kickboxing from long range, pretty good power, too. Knocked out Joshua Van. But ultimately, I think Ramazan Temirov is a special talent. He has a very power-based, but also karate-esque striking style. He's very physically strong. Will have some wrestling in the back pocket. I like the way he throws overhand shots, and he closes the distance extremely efficiently. On top of that, he also has a decent feinting game, which I like. I feel like he can catch Johnson with big punches over the top. Johnson with the reach advantage from the outside will have an edge, but Temirov has a special explosiveness, and I think he'll be able to close that gap and land some big punches. Normally, Charles Johnson's chin's very good. He's been hurt before, though, and Ramazan Temirov has 11 first-round knockouts, so not out of the realm of possibility for Temirov to catch Johnson with something major and pull off a highlight reel KO. But I respect Johnson's veteran savviness. He's on a 4-fight win streak. I don't see him going down easy. I think Temirov wins some key exchanges here. I'm expecting that his gas tank holds up and he's able to go hard for 3 rounds. Normally, Charles Johnson, a guy that looks really good in round 3 as fighters tend to fade. I don't see that as a flaw with Temirov. I'm going to expect Temirov to take it home on a decision as the official pick. He also looks in great physical condition. When we bring up the scales, you're going to say, oh, shit. Johnson will make it a tough fight, though. This is not an easy matchup at all for Ramazan Temirov. I've said this since pre-debut. I could see this guy giving Pantoja trouble, but on paper, this is one of the hardest matchups, if not the hardest matchup for him outside of like a championship fight, because Charles Johnson, 5'9", extremely tall flyweight, 70-inch reach, 4-fight winning streak, super veteran experience, and he rarely loses 3rd rounds. He's a 5-round fighter. It's unfortunate for Charles Johnson that he's not in 5-round fights often, because I think it would actually favor him substantially. I mean, you run back the Cody Durden and Rafael Estevam fight, and they do 5 rounds. I think he handles both of them. Fortunately, though, non-title fights, non-main events, or special circumstances, he's stuck fighting 3 rounds. And the UFC doing him no favors. They say, hey, Charles, first fight of the night. That's disrespectful. Charles Johnson is very good. I just think Ramazan Temirov is special, guys. I'm telling you, he's got this aura about him. Ramazan is in freaky shape. Dude is absolutely jacked and shredded to the gills. This right here, to me, is a championship level of physical conditioning. This guy takes this game very seriously. I believe that the muscularity you see on him at 125 is going to allow for some strong grappling strength, I guess you could really say. I expect him to be strong and tight. I guarantee you, grip strength is crazy. And I think Temirov could time some key takedowns, though he loves the knockout with pretty violent striking style. I'm a Temirov fan, guys. Charles Johnson, quality OG. He's got the tiger claws up. This is a funny ass post. Little zesty from Charles Johnson on this one, like the fucking Alanis guys. Holy shit. I believe that Temirov closes the gap and lands well. There were successful moments for Joshua Van against Johnson. And people would flack me for saying this all the time. But, leading up to the knockout at the end of the second round, there was moments for Joshua Van as he started finding his rhythm and range. Ramazan Temirov is a guy that starts a lot faster than a Joshua Van, and I expect him to have big striking success moments. So I think Ramazan Temirov will handle business. I'm a fan of the Uzbek fighter. I don't think that the length edge will be all that much of an obstacle. I believe Temirov closes the gap real well, and I'll say he handles business in this one. Ramazan Temirov, still undefeated in the UFC. Plus 112 is the underdog here with Charles Johnson at minus 132. I expect Temirov to win this fight, and then forthcoming, you're going to see him as like a minus 200 favorite. So this could potentially be one of the last times you're getting him at plus money for a while. I do think if you're betting, Temirov, live underdog for sure. Johnson, gritty and going to bring the fight to him, but I expect Temirov to simply just do more. And honestly, how are you not a fan of him, guys? If you have not seen Temirov fight, the UFC is doing no favors to him. Put him in the first fight of the night. He should be in the co-main event, or at least on the main card. But trust me, you're going to want to tune in. This is like one of the best card openers you can get. High quality matchup right here. Extremely talented fighters. As far as the over is minus 240. Temirov does have power, but he has gone distance in one decision, so it's not out of the realm of possibility of a decision at plus 220, but I do recognize the pop that he has. It's plus 350 range for a KO, which is not an impossibility, but ultimately, I think that Ramazan Temirov can definitely snap 2 rounds, but his power is a rare feature at 125. Only guy with power like that kind of is, maybe like a Kaikar France, or even a Manel Kape's got power, but it's more accuracy. Interesting. Minus 200. I wouldn't go spread. I like the underdog. I like the money line dog side. If you're looking to throw down on a dog, I think Ramazan Temirov is definitely going to fight hard for your money. Stern sophomore appearance, but we've seen Charles Johnson take a couple L's. And I think that Ramazan Temirov is a hyper-talented prospect who has a ton of upside. And we need to all keep a close eye on this savage. So Temirov for the dub. Let's keep running. Next fight, we have Andrea Lee versus JJ Aldrich. I'm picking JJ Aldrich. I think she could land some key takedowns, win some key exchanges on the feet. Ultimately, I'm not too excited for this matchup. Andrea Lee's on a 5-fight losing streak, but at one point she was okay. She does have good Muay Thai, underrated grappling. I am not going to advise, if anybody's gambling, to go throw down money on JJ Aldrich, okay? You would probably be better off going for the Lee side. That's not what I'm telling you to do either, though. You're chasing a value dog. But when Andrea Lee is on, she's difficult to deal with, but she's 13-10 as a pro. She has no momentum in her favor, losing 5 fights straight. The loss last time to De La Rosa, recent win for Aldrich over De La Rosa. Veronica Hardy lost, but she had some moments in that fight. Dude, you know what I'll tell you? I don't even want to have to pick this. This shouldn't have to count on my record because it's just a guessing game with the ladies at this level. If Andrea Lee was not past her prime, I would pick her to beat JJ Aldrich. But at 36, losing 5 straight fights, JJ Aldrich 2-3 out of her last 5. I'm going to say JJ handles business in competitive fashion and gets a gritty and tough decision over Andrea Lee. But Lee can still scrap, and she's still got some speed on her. She has moments. Yeah, this is just bad. This is bad. Not a great fight. Yeah, not a great fight. Let's just look at the scales, guys. Come on. I know most of you guys are just waiting to look at Andrea Lee on the scale. Ooh, there's JJ Aldrich on the scale. All right. In okay shape, to be honest. Looks kind of like that scary, what was that creature from Lord of the Rings, bro? There's got to be a Lord of the Rings fan in chat. The little guy, that guy. You know what I'm talking about? Let me know in the comments, man. I'll be honest, I'm not a Lord of the Rings expert, chat, but I see resemblance there. And we got Andrea Lee. I mean, I don't know. She looks a little bit terrifying too. It's like a fucking gremlin. This is just low-level women's MMA. I don't know, man. I think Aldrich could win a decision, but could go either way. I'll pick Aldrich here. Let's ride with her. Win some key exchanges, land some key takedowns. I think she's the better wrestler, but Lee's got some wrestling. Minus 200 for Aldrich, plus 170 for Lee. 5 losses in a row. Flip a coin, bro. Don't touch this fight. Void this fight. Avoid it with all fucking passion and, whatever. Aldrich minus 1. There's nothing. I'm not even talking the odds for this. I'm done with this one. I'm done with this. Over 2.5, probably minus 550. The pick is JJ Aldrich. I think she wins. The ladies don't perform consistently. They're harder to make picks on, especially like outside of the elite. Now I got a 5 loss in a row, Andrea Lee versus a 2-3 in her last 5, JJ Aldrich. Aldrich younger. I don't know. I feel like she's gotten better over recent years. I'll say Aldrich by a decision, but let's move on, please. Please. Next fight on the card, we got Lucas Almeida versus Danny Silva. Now, note it, Lucas Almeida missed weight. He came in at 148, I believe. So, little bit of a weight miss from Mr. Almeida. I don't know why they have it listed as Danny Silva missing weight. I think that's a mistake by Tapology. I mean, I guess now I got to like triple check, but I literally watched the weigh-ins. I know for a fact it was Lucas Almeida who missed weight. They're actually doing him dirty. Yeah, Danny Silva was 145.5. Okay, they got the weights mixed up. They got the weights mixed up on Tapology. The weights are towards the wrong fighter. It was not Danny Silva who missed weight this recent timeout. He was on weight this time. Lucas Almeida came in over the limit. I still picked him to win, though. I'm just not impressed by Danny Silva right now. His debut, he pulled off a competitive win versus Josh Culibao a year ago. Culibao is not even in the UFC anymore. They cut him. He's got decent striking. Actually, he outstruck Danny Silva for a lot of that fight. Silva landed some key takedowns and like wouldn't back down, but he was getting touched up. Lucas Almeida, I mean, he's got good straight punches, and I feel like Danny Silva leaves openings, man. I could see Lucas Almeida outstriking him. If we have a Lucas Almeida that shows up like he did against Timmy Kawamba, I think he can win 2 out of the 3 rounds and eke out a competitive decision. I feel like Danny Silva's got good hand speed, but I'm telling you guys, he gets stuck on the inside. It's like a lack of head movement from the mid-range. Almeida's got decent straight punches, kind of a Brazilian-esque Muay Thai striking style. Didn't look great on the scale, though, and I know a lot of you guys are waiting for it, so let me just bring up the scale. This fight's canceled. Let me just cry about it. Lucas Almeida, he looks skinny on the scale, but note, his eyes don't look dead. His face doesn't look extremely sunken in. From the side, he looked like a fucking scarecrow, but he always looks like that. I believe that Lucas Almeida missing weight may be a subtle advantage, not actually a disadvantage. I've seen people think, oh, well, he missed weight. Oh, it's not a good look. No. Him not making the weight, that's 2 extra pounds on him that I think could potentially aid his 3rd round. Danny Silva, he missed weight in his last fight. It's not an easy cut to 145 pounds for him. Looked decent on the scale. Face is definitely a little bit sunken in, rocking a little bit of a new look with the loop earrings, bringing back the 1990s here. Holy shit. I feel as though Lucas Almeida can pull through, man. Danny Silva's got okay hands, but I'm not sold on his power. See a little bit of that size advantage for Lucas Almeida, a tad bit taller, a little bit better from the outside, I feel. Silva's going to be looking to close the gap. I think Lucas Almeida pulls through, man. I think he's a good underdog. Don't be nervous now. 5'11 to 5'11, but I don't know. It looks like more like a 2.5, 3-inch height difference here. So even if one of them's wearing shoes and one of them's not, like I still think that Lucas Almeida is definitely a bit taller. And he is, I think, better at striking from distance with his straights. He's 34. He's not 36. I don't think he's washed. He came into the UFC at 12-1. He went distance with Daniel Zellhuber in a good fight and contender series. He won his debut against Mike Trizano in a good back and forth. And Trizano right now is winning fights in bare knuckle, and he left the UFC off a win. And then, bad loss to Pat Sabatini, but Sabatini is a gremlin on the ground. Bad loss to Andre Philly. It was a bad loss. And then next fight, he follows it up. He beats Timmy Kawamba. I think Lucas Almeida missing weight is a positive. I think him missing weight gives him a better chin here. I think missing weight gives him more of a chance to push hard in that 3rd round. And I'm going to say Lucas Almeida missing weight wins this fight as an underdog. I don't agree with the lines being this wide. I'm not surprised Danny Silva, the prospect, is the favorite, but at minus 244, I think that's crazy. At open, it was minus 110. I think it really is a 50-50 fight. Lucas Almeida plus 209, but historically he's underestimated. And I've made the mistake of underestimating him in the past and been proven wrong. Like with the Timmy Kawamba fight, as most were like, oh, Lucas Almeida's going to get ran over. No, he's got some fight in him. Lucas Almeida's a fighter, man. He's not a guy that backs down from a scrap, and he's got a better chin than you think. And the Feely fight, write that off. You can't just go off the worst performance. There's been good wins for Almeida before, and I think he's going to win this one. Minus 215 for the over. Probably. I like Lucas Almeida as an underdog. As far as the prop betting side of things, not really that interesting to me. Made a decision plus 500, but if you're going to play this fight as the underdog backer, if you're picking, Almeida with me, you're probably going for the plus money side. If you're picking Danny Silva, but you don't think he's going to knock him out early, maybe you're going minus 215 for the over. I'm sure somebody's going to go Danny Silva first round knockout. So for you, I want to read off that line. Silva first round KO is plus 750. I know some savages are going to think that he blitzes Almeida. And maybe his chin really isn't there, but he looks solid against Kuamba. I think that Almeida can handle business in this one and win a competitive fight. I definitely think over 1.5 is live. I think Almeida on the scorecards is live. Danny Silva doesn't have a lot of power, right? It's like, oh, well, he fucked up Pacheco. Yeah, fucking bantamweight he went 3 rounds with, and he was hitting him with everything. He got a TKO outside the UFC, got taken down by Keinan Kawai. The thing is with Keinan, it's like him landing takedowns, regardless of a fairly competitive fight, it makes me really question the wrestling. I don't think Danny Silva is all that good of a wrestler, and I think Lucas Almeida's takedown defense holds up fine in this fight. So kickboxing, I see it as close, and I think Almeida's better from range. So give me Lucas Almeida for the surprise here. Next fight on the card, we have Ricardo Ramos versus Chepe Mariscal. The pick has got to be Chepe. We got to go with the machine gun. With Ricardo Ramos, the one thing I like about all of it, if you've tuned in throughout the week, you know. If you haven't, this is the first time. He's worked a bit with Fighting Nerds leading up to this one. And the Fighting Nerds team is a team of fucking winners. Regardless of that fact, Ricardo Ramos is a flawed fighter. He has a very questionable fight IQ. He's just got bad decision making. 2 submission losses in a row by guillotine. I don't think that's a great look. Granted, Charles Jourdain and Julian Erosa have decent gillies, but ultimately don't think it's a great look. Last fight, he was getting touched up bad against Josh Kulabeo, getting his leg ripped apart. His striking looked worse than ever before. His jiu-jitsu was solid, and that's what won him the fight. But Chepe Mariscal is a high-caliber, pressure-based wrestler slash brawler. And I think that Chepe Mariscal finds success in close range. I think Chepe's got good leg kicks. I think he wins a firefight with Ramos. Chepe's tough as they come. Ramos bails on fights when they start going sideways. You got to pick Chepe Mariscal to pull through. The odds are not pretty, but it's not about the odds. It's about who wins the fight. And Chepe Mariscal is going to go tooth and fucking nail to the end. I could see Ramos giving up his back, tapping out, giving up a gilly, tapping out. Mariscal is going to push him to the breaking point. The thing is, Mariscal is not much of a submission guy. He likes to finish with ground and pound or big punches and consistent pressure and break people. I can see Mariscal breaking Ramos here. So the pick is going to be Chepe Mariscal with his aggression, with his distance ability, his ability to close distance, I should word it as. Ramos is also susceptible to low kicks. I can see Mariscal ripping some there. I think the wrestling game of Mariscal dictates where the fights take place. I don't think Ramos is a crafty enough striking technician to keep Mariscal away for 3 rounds and out kickbox him. I think Chepe can win a competitive one with pure grit. I don't think Ramos is all that. At one point, I was a big Ramos fan, but he let me down one too many times. There's Chepe Mariscal. He looks pretty great on the scale, very physically fit. Ricardo Ramos looks horrible on the scale. I mean, he doesn't look in great shape. This isn't championship conditioning. I don't care. Oh, but he's a featherweight. He's not meant to have muscle. Look at the density. It lacks. I don't think that Ramos has the grit. I don't think Ramos has the grit. Now, he's a little taller. But Chepe's a dog, man. Ramos' chance to win is kind of like fluke submission because he does have quality jiu-jitsu offensively. It's just he's getting subbed a lot. Minus 400 for Chepe. It's plus 300 for Ramos. The odds suck here. Minus 370 it went down to. That's not too bad. I mean, it's shit, but you know what I'm saying. Ramos by submission at plus 1,400. I mean, all right, what I'll say is this. If you have Chepe Mariscal as like a parlay piece with somebody, and you're like, fuck it, I want to hedge, you go Ramos by sub on the 1 in fucking 100 chance that that's how he wins, because at plus 1,400 for a guy that is quality with jiu-jitsu, it's just, Chepe never been submitted, and he's not going to tap if you get him in a gilly either. He's going to fight out of it until he's fucking done. Like, when he taps or if he goes to sleep, like, it'll be over. I think Ramos might lock him in a gilly and then gas his arms out and get finished. Like, Ramos might have a big scare moment in round 1 and then get beaten the shit out of later. We're going Chepe Mariscal. You got to go with grit. You got to go with will. He's got talent and skill too, but you got to go with grit and will over just talent and skill because I don't think Ramos got it. Chepe Mariscal to pull through. Next fight on the card. It is our featured prelim of the night. We got heavyweights going after it. Austen Lane, Mario Pinto. The pick has been Pinto all week, but me and most of the people are very excited to see him weigh in and, showcase himself on the scales. Now, Pinto's striking arsenal is quality. He's got good counter shots, good traditionalist kickboxing style, very technically proficient and sound. I have to say, Pinto seems to be highly skilled. He's taken on a bit of a brawler in Austen Lane. Lane did have a grappling heavy decision win last fight out, beating Rebellis to Spain. He's a huge guy at heavyweight, weighing in, in the 250s, 6'6", 80-inch reach. But Pinto's also a very big dude as well. Let's look at the scales, man. Let's see the size differential. Pinto listed at 6'5". This Pinto, he's looking a little chubby, to be honest. Chubby Pinto. Does chubby Pinto sell? No, I think he'll be all right, man. At heavyweight, it's the one weight class where you can have like a subpar physical fit, but you see a little belly fat around the midsection. It's not a big surprise, though. What did he weigh in officially at? I want to double check, make sure they got it right on Tapology. 246.5 pounds for Pinto. I think that's kind of a good weight for him. He's talented, man. I think he wins this fight. And then let's look at the other side. Similar weight for Austen Lane. Lane hittable on the feet, leaves openings, been knocked out a good handful of times. Then there's the face-off. Lane intense, staring him down. I think Pinto's going to be too talented. Counter shot KO as Lane looks to brawl and pressure. That's the vibe I get. I think Pinto is getting a first-round knockout probably. The way that Lane fights is offensive and maybe a bit reckless. I think that Pinto is going to land a key shot, counter shot. Pinto, he's more crafty and striking by a very, very substantial margin, I believe. He's a minus 515 favorite. Really wide odds between the two. We've seen Austen Lane chinned a lot, man. He's got too many KO losses in a row. I see that chin there to be hit for Pinto, right when you look at it. Minus 515 sucks, though. Plus 400 for Lane. Pinto does have a handful of decision wins, but not here. Minus 150 for Pinto to win by KO TKO. I do think Pinto probably is pulling through with a knockout. I expect him to catch Austen Lane with some type of big punch. I expect him to crack him with a counter shot of some variety. I don't know. It's just something like that I see. I feel like Lane gets too reckless on the feet. I feel like Lane's going to look to close the gap and press. Maybe even look for like a tackle. His takedowns are not great, but he's got some tackles. Had Joanna Janiz mounted, but Janiz has no grappling. I feel like Pinto handles business, man. His takedown defense won't be as bad as a Rebellis to Spain. They'll be forced to strike, and Pinto is better at striking. I'll say the young up-and-coming heavyweight gets a knockout win. So Mario Pinto for the W in his UFC debut. He's a good prospect. Next fight, it brings us to our main card opener. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash that like button. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. Woo! First fight on the main card. I'm going Sam Patterson over Danny Barlow. I think Sam Patterson is an incredibly live underdog. Okay? I don't understand why the odds are so wide. He gets written off because of a bad loss, and I understand it didn't look great against, Ashmoos at 55, but he's a different fighter at 170, and that was also 2 years ago. Danny Barlow was in a tooth-and-nail competitive fight with Nikolay Veretinikov last time out, and I know people mentioned the broken hand, the broken arm in his past two fights. That's also a relative concern if there is some type of consistent, reoccurring injury that happens. I just think that could be a potential weakness for him. Sam Patterson's striking arsenal is actually not bad, and the guys that tend to pose threats to somebody like Patterson, I believe, are shorter brawlers. Danny Barlow is slick with his straight punches and has very good hand speed. Ultimately, though, with Danny Barlow, liking the straight punch, that southpaw straight left, having a tall guy like Sam Patterson, who's pretty tactical and technical with his kickboxing, I see him being able to avoid those powerful straight shots of Danny Barlow. And I think Sam Patterson does okay in the stand-up game. I will not argue that he's at a power disadvantage. I think that's an obvious thing. But ultimately, I think Patterson could drag this fight to the floor where his jiu-jitsu shines. Danny Barlow, I know people say, oh, but like he's got decent wrestling defense, Everybody in the UFC has, for the most part, besides a couple, relatively decent takedown defense and a wrestling base. I think Sam Patterson's jiu-jitsu is a lot better than Danny Barlow's. I think his transitional speed and grappling makes this fight very interesting. I feel like Sam Patterson is live for a submission win. He's a 12-2 prospect. Danny Barlow had 2 tough fights in his first 2 UFC. I guess the Quinlan one was less tough, but he did take 3 rounds to handle business there, and Quinlan holds his hands very close to his face and is like awful from long range. I feel like Sam Patterson survives Danny Barlow's pressure. I don't know what happens if we get into the later stages with Barlow's gas tank. At the end of the fight against Veretinikov, there was mistakes with slapping shots. Granted, still has pop on them. I think Sam Patterson can make this a very competitive fight. I think his striking is not out of the realm of possibility to have success. When they tie up the grappling game, I think Sam Patterson is superior. And I'm going to say Sam Patterson is live to win by sub. And I believe he's being completely underestimated here. He's 12-2. He's 6'3" in the weight class. I think he's got a good ability. Let's look at the scales. We got Sam Patterson in killer shape. Sam Patterson is in the game, looking to push himself as a fucking contender. He's not a guy that's just a little stopping by fighter with like 1 win and 3 losses in the UFC. He's 2-1. He's got a 2-fight win streak, and he's 2-0 at welterweight. There's Danny Barlow. He looks solid on the scale. No issues with the weight cut this time out. Then there's the face-off. You can see Patterson a bit taller. I'm telling you, when they tie up, Patterson has an obvious jiu-jitsu advantage, which I really think he can exploit in this fight here. I say Sam Patterson's taking this one home, man. I do. I'll say Sam Patterson win by sub. Plus 272 for Patterson. Barlow minus 332. Barlow has a lot of highlights outside of the UFC, but the opposition is not great, man. Sam Patterson is a legit prospect. I think the grappling skills of Patterson will be on display, but I also think his striking is not going to be completely outmatched. Like I said, definitely a power disadvantage, though. Patterson by sub, sitting around plus 400 to 500. I do think Patterson is live to lock up a submission here. I think Sam Patterson makes this a much more competitive fight than the odds would have you believing. And I'm going to say Sam Patterson is live for a win. I'm going to pick Sam Patterson as the Savage Dog lock at plus 250. I'm shocked by the lines. At open, he was plus 190. That's even a bit wide. I see this as a competitive matchup, man. Don't be deceived by betting odds to see this as a squash match for Danny Barlow. He's had, 3 rounds with Quinlan, full distance with Veretinikov. It's not like he's just dropping everybody with one punch. And Sam Patterson is getting this bad reputation because of the debut loss 2 years ago, but it was down in weight. 15 pounds off his motherfucking frame, dude. At 6'3", he was anorexic at 155. Now he's filled into a 170-pound frame. He's still on the thinner side, but in this one here, I think physicality is relatively close. And I'll say Sam Patterson pulls off a surprise in this one and submits Danny Barlow. Let's go. Next fight on the card, we got William Gomis versus Hyder Amil. I've been picking William Gomis to handle business all week. I think that he outstrikes Hyder Amil from long range. He's got good footwork. He's quick from the outside. He picks his shots really well. He's relatively smooth. I think William Gomis is pretty good, man. I think he is. He's got good combinations. He's not really like fun to watch because he's very safety first and counter striking based. But with Hyder Amil, who's more of like a bullying pressure fighter, I think that actually plays into the game of Gomis very well to find consistent counter shots. And Amil is not that good of a wrestler. Gomis's wrestling defense is pretty solid. I think he's able to fend off takedown attempts from Amil, even if he's backed up against the cage. Then I think the striking arsenal of Gomis, he's got a lot of tools, whereas Amil throws big power shots, but isn't really super technically sound, more of a brawler, right? And I think Gomis is just better at pure kickboxing, and I think this fight is a lot of striking. Lateral movement of Gomis on display, and I'll say he takes home a decision over Hyder Amil and gives him his first loss as a pro. Let's look at the scales, all right? Let's look at the scales, though. We got William Gomis. He's straight flexing on everybody. I would like to see him get a knockout. He's got knockouts outside of the UFC, but in the UFC, the only TKO is not even a TKO, is a miscalled low shot. Hyder Amil looks in pretty good shape. He got a thick jaw. We'll give him that. He's probably got a solid chin, but he's a 34-year-old prospect. Gomis a good bit taller. I'm just not sold on Hyder Amil making a run at 34. Gomis, say what you want about the decision against Brito, coming off a win over Brito on paper. He's got, a 4-0 UFC record. I think he should beat Hyder Amil, who's, fucked up Ji-Yoon Lee, but I don't think Ji-Yoon Lee is that good, and he's got a very flawed fight IQ. And he also fucked up Fernie Garcia, who's a former bantamweight. Plus 175 for Hyder Amil, minus 205 for Gomis. Now, as far as anything else, I think Gomis to win via decision, minus 115 is live. What's a KO, though? Plus 500. Gomis was KOing people outside of the UFC, but I feel like Hyder Amil's pretty fucking tough, man. I don't think he backs down from a good fight. I think Amil's in his face. I think Amil's live to make it long. I think Gomis probably takes it on the cards. Let's even see what the over is sitting at. Over 2.5 rounds sitting at -210. I think it's live. I feel like Gomis' long distance striking is going to beat the brawling base pressure striking of Hyder Amil. And I think him landing clean shots from long range while staying on his bicycle, moving and avoiding the big blitzes of Hyder Amil should give him a pretty high likelihood chance of success. So I'll say William Gomis landing more significant shots, outpointing Hyder Amil, gets it done on the judges' scorecards. First loss for Amil. Next up, featured fight of the night, which is an absolute high-level banger. We got Nasrat Haqparast versus Esteban Ribovics. I love this fight. I'm picking Esteban Ribovics. I think Ribovics is a super talented up-and-coming prospect. I was one of the few that believed in him over Daniel Zellhuber, and I picked him there. And seeing him perform, I'm like, this kid is getting better each and every time. Good boxing in close range. Not afraid of a brawl. He does eat a good shot, but he can also land with good power. Rips big combinations in closer range, but also good at closing that distance. You have to respect his head kick game after the Terrence McKinney knockout. He's got fast legs with good dexterity. Nasrat Haqparast is solid from the mid-range, southpaw stance, likes that overhand left, loops it pretty well with good speed. But I do think he's going to be getting pressured by Ribovics, and I don't believe that Nasrat Haqparast has the stopping power to put Ribovics to sleep. And on top of that, I don't think he has the stopping power to stop Ribovics in his tracks from consistently pressing forward on him. I think Ribovics brings an annoying pressure-based striking style, backing Haqparast up, especially being in the smaller cage. There'll be moments that we're close to that cage, and I think Ribovics will rip combinations in close range to the body and to the head. I like his versatility with levels. I have to favor Ribovics to win the striking exchanges. I have to favor Ribovics to land big. I think he could hurt Haqparast here. Daniel Zellhuber's got a crazy chin because Ribovics landed some bombs on him, and I don't know if Haqparast takes those same shots. Haqparast last time out won a real close one with Jared Gordon in a good tooth and nail back and forth fight, and I think he'll have quality moments here, but I just think Ribovics this higher ceiling. I know Haqparast got more high-level experience, but Ribovics at 28, I think he's got some goods, man. I don't think Haqparast is just handling him like that. I think Ribovics does well for himself, and I think he wins this fight with blitzing into close range with big shots, winning some key exchanges. I could see Haqparast making it a dog fight and them going 3 hard, but I'll say that Esteban Ribovics pulls through. You know, what's crazy is both these guys are listed at 5'10", but you'll see in a second that's not the case. Esteban Ribovics looks in very good physical condition here, shredded out for sure. Nasrat, Kelvin Gastelum, Haqparast flexing out. Looks in solid shape too, per usual. And there's the face-off. Why is Ribovics look 6'1" and Haqparast look 5'9"? Both these guys listed at the exact same height. 5'10" on both sides. I will tell you this. Ribovics had sandals on or slides, and Haqparast had no shoes on. So let's say 1 inch from the sandals. Let's drop him down. He's still 2 inches taller. There's a mismark on the height of Ribovics, man. He's a lot taller. I think Ribovics might be 5'11", 6 foot, and Haqparast might be 5'8", 5'9". I swear, man. Haqparast listed at 5'10". No way, bro. I think I'm taller than him. No way. I think Esteban Ribovics handles business, guys. We're picking Esteban Ribovics to pull through, and I like the height advantage too. As far as the odds, they are a bit wide. Opened up as an underdog at plus 180. Everybody's like, holy shit, let's run out and get that now. And then he became a minus 250 favorite. Nasrat Haqparast plus 210 is the underdog. I think Ribovics handles him, man. I'm a big Ribovics fan. I won't lie to you guys. I won't lie to you. Over 2.5, minus 205. Ribovics could KO him, though. It's not crazy. Ribovics by KO, plus 300. It's not a fucking crazy possibility. The way Ribovics ripping shots. Holy shit, man. I love his style. Yeah, I think he could rock. Haqparast, but normally Haqparast got a pretty good chin. I think his last loss by KO was Drew Dober. Let's double check. I think so. Yeah, Drew Dober. Is that the only KO loss? Yeah. I believe the only KO loss. Yeah, his only KO loss was against Drew Dober. And we know Drew Dober's a hard motherfucking puncher, man. That was years ago. But I could see Ribovics having that type of success here. Ribovics by KO, plus 300. Interesting. Ultimately, the money line is wide. It becomes only really parlayable, man. Sucks, but it is what it is. But I'll pick Ribovics to win a war. I'm a fan of Ribovics, man. You got to have confidence in a guy that you know. If you're on the betting side, fuck the odds for a second. Ribovics, you ask yourself the question, is he going to fight his fucking ass off for my money? Absolutely. He's that type of guy. He doesn't cower away from a dogfight. And I think he has limitless potential, whereas though Haqparast only, several months older at 29, I believe that Esteban Ribovic's ceiling is unknown, whereas I don't think Haqparast is much more than the level he's at now. Maybe he gets a little better, but I don't see him as a contender. Maybe Ribovics could break into the top 10. You get where I'm coming from? So I'm going to go with Esteban Ribovics to handle business, and I'm damn excited for it. Next fight on the card, we got Cody Brundage versus Julian Marquez. What the hell is this co-main event? I've complained all week just because the bout order doesn't make sense. I'm picking Cody Brundage. At the end of the day, Marquez and Brundage will probably be a fun slobber knocker reminiscent of an MMA fight you would have seen in like 2004. Because these guys both give the vibe of like the throwback styles, Not great, but Brundage, underrated power. He actually has a really good overhand left, and he's got strong wrestling in the back pocket. Marquez, at one point, he had good striking pressure and combinations. Like, got high kicks in the arsenal, but bro, Marquez is so washed. And even his last fucking win, Sam Alvey almost 4 years ago, and then 4 years ago, this Maki Pitolo fight, he was losing early to Maki Pitolo. Brundage is going to run him over. Brundage is a very good underdog this week. I'm picking Cody Brundage as a dog. I think Brundage could land a massive overhand shot with big power. I think Brundage can land key takedowns. The main worry with Cody Brundage is right there, the brain. Does he give up on himself? Does something go awry and then he kind of loses confidence? Does Marquez survive the first 7-8 minutes of the fight? Then Brundage gets tired and Marquez keeps walking him down, and then Brundage just turtles up. That's the issue with Cody Brundage, is the lapses in mentality. Now, he's escaped fights with some luck, like this one here, okay, against Malkoun, okay? Very lucky because he was getting killed, and then he got hit in the back of the head and got a DQ win. Destroyed Zach Reese with a slam. That was very impressive, and then Reese went on to absolutely destroy Julian Marquez in seconds. After that, Bo Nickel beat him, but he was competitive in round one. He gave it hell. Alisson fight, back of the head blows, no contest. Does have this bad loss to Cedric was Dumas, but to be fair, Brundage seemed like he wasn't there mentally that night. Julian Marquez, 3 straight KO losses and super inconsistent. His 5th fight, right? 5 fights back, Maki Pitolo 4 years ago. 5 fights back, we got a year and 8 months ago. We have a higher rate of activity by a substantial margin, more than double. I think Cody Brundage being active, consistently fighting, and not getting chinned in his last 3 fights is a pretty big positive. So I'll say Brundage should finish this fight. I think he's live for a finish in the first 2 rounds. I think he might knock Marquez out. And I think Brundage could have a good moment for himself in a co-main event like this. A feel-good spot for a tough journeyman. There's Julian Marquez on the scale. I was told through Guru in chat that Marquez is an alcoholic. Don't know if this is true or not. This is purely hearsay. But if so, even more of a concern, right? Because the reflexes tend to slow for fighters that drink heavy as they get into the later stage of their career. And could be why at 34, he's seeming more like he's 39. Cody Brundage. Holy shit. Brundage got the fucking lineup. Holy shit, man. Rocking a true fade here. This guy got edged up for this fight. Holy shit, bro. Brundage got that Hispanic influence now, bro. Cody El Nino Brundage over here. Holy shit. That's crazy. Cody El Nino Brundage. Cody El Nino Brundage coming through. Look at the hairline, bro. This is a new look for him. Holy shit, dude. There's the face-off between the two. Marquez a little taller, but he got short arms, man. These guys are going to bang and brawl and scrap and go to war. And I think that El Nino, Cody, Brundage pulls through against the Cuban Missile Crisis. All right, the Puerto Rican sensation pulls through. Plus 100 for Brundage. Marquez at minus 120. Close odds for a reason. I think Brundage can win this thing, man. I really do. I think Brundage inside distance. What's no distance for the fight? I actually just want to look at that line first. Fucking scrolling like a maniac. Cody Brundage, scorecards, no action, plus 115. I mean, his live finish. That's not a bad one. I think his inside distance is live for Brundage as well. It's knockout more so, plus 155, KO plus 175. I'm seeing plus 260 available though for Brundage. Moneyline is not bad though at plus 100 if they ended up going 3 hard and Brundage shows like maturity and wins a hard fought decision against a long-time UFC vet. Brundage should pull through. I mean, Marquez is well past his prime. Marquez's MMA peak, because this could be the last time we see him fight. I got to give him a special shout. This violent KO of Phil Hawes on the Contender Series back when I was just graduated high school. Holy shit. That head kick was crazy. Phil Hawes supposed to be good, but damn, got killed by Marquez. And then obviously we know Phil Hawes didn't really live up to the hype in the UFC. And like, bro, since 2017, right? He doesn't even have 10 UFC. His 7th is his 8th UFC fight in 8 years. He fights once a year. He's just not consistent enough. Cody Brundage is staying active, fighting all the time, regardless of results. I think that he's going to be the more sharpened blade, and I think he'll do some damage here. Cody Brundage with a quality performance and win, and he's a good underdog this week for sure. I would much rather bet on him as a dog than betting on Marquez as a favorite. And I think that even if Brundage was the favorite, he would be a better bet than Marquez as a dog. So Cody Brundage should pull through. Main event of the evening, Manel Kape versus Almabayev. If you're watching and enjoying, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Make sure you subscribe. We got Manel Kape versus Almabayev throwing down in a 5-round, potentially #1 contender fight in the flyweight division. It's a great matchup here. The pick is Manel Kape to win. Now, Almabayev coming in on short notice for Brandon Royval, but with a flyweight that stays in shape like this, the short notice is not something that really worries me. Stylistically, it's a very interesting matchup for Manel Kape because he is going to be facing off against somebody that has a very pressure-heavy wrestling style and pretty good control. Now, Almabayev, though, doesn't have much striking power. He's okay. He's technically proficient in the stand-up game, I would say. He's not a bad striker, but I definitely think Manel Kape is leaps and bounds better than Almabayev in stand-up, and I don't think it's even a question. Kickboxing-wise, Manel Kape all day. I believe he'd knock out Almabayev if they were just kickboxing. Where things get interesting is the grappling. Though Almabayev has good takedowns and control, I don't think he has a big submission threat or even a damage threat much from top position. I think if he is to win this fight with key takedowns, it is probably going to be a bit more of a chain wrestling based fight where he's going to be controlling Manel Kape against the cage a lot, landing peppering ground and pound, but not much substantial damage, right? Manel Kape only needs a few key striking moments to deliver maximum impact because he does have legit power in the flyweight division. He also has incredible hand speed. His footwork is great, and he has a high striking fight IQ, and his takedown / get-up game is pretty solid. He's not an easy guy to beat up and control on the ground. Like, yeah, Muhammad Mokaev landed some key takedowns there, but ultimately it was a very competitive fight. Kape did win the first round, and Mokaev, undefeated as a pro and, you know, one of the most promising prospects at flyweight, even though he's not in the UFC anymore. Ultimately, his level was high, not the most entertaining style. I think Manel Kape can find striking success. He broke his toe in that fight against Mokaev, but still went at 3 hard and had good moments. Kape's got big speed. I think he's got great combination strikes. I think he can actually land a knee as Almabayev shoots. Watch for him to time a big shot. I could see him hurting Almabayev in this fight. Almabayev, he's got a good resume right now, right? Undefeated in the UFC, 4-0. His debut was a good submission, but since then he's been missed a decision, right? Controls a lot, takes the back, you know, just transitions on the ground and keeps control, takedowns, control. Not much damage. Against Matthias Nicolau, he almost got locked in a gilly, though. And, you know, it's a washed version of Matthias Nicolau as they dropped the pen over there. I believe that Manel Kape is going to do more damage. I think Manel Kape is going to win key moments in this fight. I do think he'll win majority of the rounds. I could see him giving up 1, but ultimately, I think Manel Kape gets into a striking flow, and Almabayev is literally going to have to pretty much chain wrestle him and control him for 5 rounds, right? And avoid damage. If damage is trumping all, if Kape's able to consistently get back up to his feet and outstrike Almabayev landing some panic takedowns and doing nothing with them is not going to win him the fight. I think Manel Kape, too seasoned at a high level for Almabayev, and I think he does more damage and takes home a win. Now, it's flyweight, so it's hard for me to pick knockout, but an accumulation of damaging shots and the volume striking from Manel Kape slowly but surely wearing on Almabayev, and maybe a later stage finish could be a possibility because Manel Kape has knockout ability. He is a good finisher, especially for flyweights. And I think Almabayev, I don't know, man, could be susceptible to breaking with big damaging shots. He's tapped to strikes, I believe, against Tagir Ulanbekov. He lost by submission on paper, but he got finished. That was a long time ago. But it's just something worth mentioning. There has been a lapse of mentality in fights there. I think Manel Kape handles him, and I think he's on the title path once again and potentially a #1 contender following this one. As far as the scales, Asu Almabayev, he looks quality on the scale. He's in pretty good shape. I've said this. I think that Ramazan Temirov is what people believed Asu Almabayev would become. I think Temirov would be a nightmare matchup for some of these top guys very soon. He's only 28. And granted, Asu Almabayev young too at 31, but I don't think he has that same level like Temirov. I'm telling you, man. Temirov's a special force. We'll see in the first fight of the night, but I think this guy's good. Manel Kape looks in great shape per usual. On point. Come on, man. Manel Kape handles him. Manel Kape actually got the freakiest bicep. Look at that. It's like for his body size, that bicep is large, man. 125 pounds, but it's the bicep of a fucking light heavyweight. And there's the side to side between him and Almabayev. There's the face off. Kape a little taller. Length advantage, range advantage, winning key, striking exchange advantage. I don't know, man. We can look at the side by side. I mean, Almabayev's also in very good shape. Give him credit. He's going to give a hard fight here. And that's why I'm thinking 5. I'm thinking Manel Kape wins, doing more damage over the 5 rounds, takes it home against a very gritty and game Asu Almabayev. So we're going Kape to take it home in the main event. But we got to check out the odds, all right? They're a little bit wide, minus 225. We've seen, some movement. At open, it was actually bigger at minus 250, so it's down from that. Plus 190 for Almabayev as the dog. I do think this fight goes over 2.5, probably minus 375. Kape by decision, plus 200. Kape by KO, also plus 200. Let's see. What do we got here? If you believe in the toughness of Almabayev, availability, let's see on the spread. Minus 110. Not crazy. Not crazy. Not crazy. Kape wins by KO or decision. Minus 200. That's shit. It's pretty much the same as the fucking money line. It's like somehow he wins by DQ and you're fucked. Yeah, not a great betting main event for the money line, but it's not all about the gambling side. It's about who wins the fights. And I think Manel Kape has much higher possibility of significant damage throughout the fight as opposed to his competition in Asu Almabayev. So I'll expect Kape to do more, land more. He's definitely the better striker. I believe he's defensively sound enough in grappling to at worst survive, but at best even get up quickly or just avoid takedowns altogether. And if he is able to avoid takedowns altogether, Almabayev stuck in a striking fight for 5 rounds with Kape is a fucking nightmare because Manel Kape definitely top tier striking at flyweight with the gift of power, the gift of precision, and the gift of explosiveness and athleticism, man. Manel Kape should take this one home. I'll say he wins and secures a spot as the top contender or potentially top contender. Those are the predictions, but we're not done just yet. I want to look at the parlays, but post weigh-in, right? How's things looking after the weigh-in? So we lost the fight with Castaneda. So that Castaneda Mariscal parlay goes to shit. What can I replace it with? I have to replace the Castaneda Mariscal parlay live, guys. I'm not asking, obviously. I know the chat's not watching. I'm thinking to myself, what I planned on doing was saying I will replace him with Ribovics, and I will put that with Chepe. Minus 139. You actually get better odds. I think there's a chance of that for sure. I like some of the value side parlays. I won't lie to you. Like Ramazan Temirov to win at plus 110. I think he's got a good shot to pull through and thrive in this fight here. You can go, if you want to be a savage, you want to not play maybe the dog lock Patterson, but you go Ramazan Temirov and Cody Brundage plus 341. Then you want to also add in Sam Patterson to go dog savagery plus 1488. That's a savage D-Gen call. I'll show you it here. Can you see it? No, I got to zoom in more. Boom. Savage D-Gen call. Savage D-Gen call. But I don't want to do all of that. I want to go for like a little value play. I think Ramazan Temirov has a very good chance to win at plus 110. I think you could parlay him up with Manel Kape for a 2-to-1 play at plus 206. I'm really sad we lost the Castaneda one because Temirov Castaneda felt really good. And I thought it was a great chance of it happening. I guess you could replace him with William Gomis at plus 218. I think there's a good chance of that, but Gomis, such a point fighter, annoys me to have him as such a reliable piece of a 2-leg. It's one thing if you're going 3, 4, or 5-leg, Esteban Ribovics plus 191. I feel like Ribovics could potentially replace Castaneda, but then it becomes like an alternate to the confident picks. Fuck, man, we lost that Castaneda lock, dude. He was such a lock. He was such a lock, man. He was such a lock. A lot of things go down. I mean, luckily we had alternates, right? Mariscal instead of Castaneda in the sweep alternate as opposed to the sweep. But you could potentially replace Castaneda and put in the side of Esteban Ribovics, and you'll be getting similar lines to everything if you choose to replace Castaneda as like the alternate. Because I know some, might want to alternate. Maybe you throw in Mariscal in the mix too, and then you're going for the big plus money. Kape, Gomis, Mariscal is still open. I think, I don't know, something good about Temirov and Esteban Ribovics, though. I like that play a lot. I'm a big Temirov guy, and I'm a big Ribovics guy at this point. Underdog, Sam Patterson, he could simply be played straight or more in like parlay looking to really get the plus money. Like if you want to go Sam Patterson and Ramazan Temirov, you got plus 656, which gets you some pretty massive plus money. That's a solid play. Trying to see here. Patterson, Kape, Gomis, Mariscal, I think it probably hits. If you want to just go flyweight supremacy, like I said, Temirov and Mariscal, or excuse me, Temirov and Kape. You could potentially do Temirov and Mariscal if you just want to get better odds with Mariscal and don't want to money line him. You get plus 160 as opposed to minus 420 on just Mariscal and plus 110 with Temirov, but not like a fabulous line, not the best line ever, but better than it was. But you still got to win 2 fights as opposed to 1. Over 1.5 is live in this Danny Silva fight. Potentially could be a parlay piece. Don't love it, but potential parlay piece here. Let's see. The fights that have Castaneda, I mean, if you already place potential, let's say you played the Savage sweep at the bottom with Castaneda, you could leave it as is because they're going to give you a push and still get quality plus money. I want to do one more alternate. One more little alternate. I don't know. Cody, Brundage, and Temirov for 2 Savage dog plays, plus 341, I think is a badass parlay. Then if you added Patterson in for plus 1488, and let's say if all the dogs come through, holy shit. Then you got the one right at the bottom, plus 4,446. Any adjustments I want to make on the fly? Let me think here. I mean, Manel, Kape, Ribovics for a main card play, plus 102. I think it does hit. Chepe, he's going to fight for your money. And like I said, there's that sub hedge because that's really the only scenario I see Ramos winning with. Plus 150 for Ribovics, Kape, and Mariscal. Not great plus money, but is a 3-leg and brings you in that plus money zone. Obviously, Gomis, Pinto, now without Castaneda, you can still just play those 2, or maybe you could throw Esteban Ribovics instead. You're actually going to get somewhere around the same line. We'll look at it here. Pinto with, where's my guy, William Gomis, boom. And then if you were to throw in Ribovics as opposed to Castaneda, plus 148. And if you're like, nah, I'd rather just go with Mariscal, who was already the alternate, plus 121. Less plus money, but still upside. Or you want dog, maybe you're throwing in Brundage, plus 276. Patterson like a savage, plus 544. Temirov, because you're like, fuck it. Pinto, Gomis, Temirov, plus 276. And Patterson, now you're at plus 1252. Now we're going DGen. Throwing out some ideas for you, man. Doesn't mean you got to go play all these. Doesn't mean I'm going to play all these. These ones here, the ones I obviously really was hype on having Castaneda. I'm actually pissed because Castaneda Temirov was a fucking badass play. That one's off the list. And even Castaneda with Mariscal felt like a good little safe alt. But things have to be shifted and adjusted, and Ribovics could be a guy you back with, or you just, accept the void on ones that you have forthcoming that had Castaneda in, and it is what it is, and you move forth. If you're looking for an over, I do think over 1.5 is live in the Danny Silva, Lucas Almeida fight, but Silva a little bit of a striking speed advantage, though I think Almeida's better from range, and Almeida leaves openings, and his power is not all that good. Angel Pacheco went 3 rounds with him. He went 3 rounds with Culebao and took a lot of damage, but his toughness is definitely there. It's going to be a good card. I like where everything's at, though. I'm feeling good about the picks, man, regardless of fight cancellations. It's unfortunate because one of them was a confident pick. Like the Carolina fight getting canceled, I was like, it's all good. It's all good. But losing the Castaneda fight sucks. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode of the Weigh In Recap Show. Make sure you all hit the likes on your way out. And if you're new, welcome to the channel. Hit subscribe. Turn on the post notifications. I got daily content and live streams. Monday to Friday, I'm rocking with the Lunchtime Live, doing streams every single day. So keep it locked in on the channel. I love you all. Thank you guys for watching. W's in the comments if you got nothing to say, but definitely let me know what you think of your predictions. What do you think of mine? What do you have for your own? I want to hear from the folks, especially post weigh-in. And I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks for watching, my people. Peace out.